There is a law most have forgotten. Everything responds to its right name. Animals, people, even money. Call a dog and it runs to you. Call money and it does the same. Yet most people never speak its true name. They speak fear instead. They speak doubt instead. And then they wonder why money does not appear. Tonight I restore to you the forgotten law of naming. In this lesson, I will show you how to speak to money as law. How to call it by its right name so it cannot escape you. You will learn why careless speech keeps money far away. Why the tongue either multiplies or dissolves supply, and how a single shift in naming turns poverty into plenty. By the end, you will not only know the word to call money, but the spiritual law that forces it to obey. You may have tried budgeting, scrimping, even begging God for supply. Yet the bills keep mounting and the worry grows. You may have said words of affirmation with no result, because your mouth still called money by the wrong name in idle talk. But tonight you will see why idle words carry as much power as affirmations. Why every careless statement is a seed, and how to uproot those false names and plant the truth. You will feel the freedom of knowing that money is not your master. It is your servant and it answers to your command. In this teaching, I will uncover the forgotten law of naming. Why words attach vibration to money. Why the subconscious repeats whatever name you give it. And how to speak so that supply must rush to you. I will show you the declarations that drew money into my students' hands sometimes in days. And I will give you the exact phrasing to write, to speak, and to guard upon your tongue. We will expose the false names, scarcity, difficulty, expense, that bind money away from you, and we will replace them with truth. Stay with me, for at the end of this lesson, I will reveal the single phrase that dissolves debt like smoke. A phrase so bold that most fear to say it. But once spoken, it changes everything. Here's something most people completely miss, though it is as plain as the sunrise, and as old as the scriptures. Everything in this universe responds to its name. Call a child and he turns his head. Call a dog and it comes running. Call a friend across the street and she lifts her hand to wave. Do you think money is any different? It is not. Money is not dead matter. It is energy, vibration, substance clothed in form. And when you call it by its right name, it must answer. But here is the tragedy. Most people never call money by its name. They call it by false names: scarcity, expense, burden, difficulty. And then they wonder why it hides. For the law is simple: by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. If you condemn money with your tongue, it will withdraw from you. If you justify money by naming it rightly, it will come at your call. Why is this so? Because the subconscious mind is like a phonograph, recording every word you speak, every phrase you repeat, every label you attach. It does not argue, it does not reason, it does not say, "Ah, she was only joking." It simply records and plays back in form. One student of mine, tired of managing her home, often said in jest, "I wish I lived in a trunk." She laughed, her friends laughed, but the subconscious did not laugh. It wrote the record. And soon enough, her home was gone, and she found herself with nothing but a trunk. Do you see the power of naming? What you name, you claim. What you call, you recall. Every word is a seed, and every seed must bear fruit after its kind. Now imagine what happens when you attach the wrong names to money day after day. It's hard to get. It never stays. It slips through my fingers. I can't afford it. Every one of those sentences is a decree. Every one is a seed planted in the soil of your subconscious. And what harvest can such seeds bring but lack, debt, and delay? The tongue is the rudder of life. And if you turn it towards scarcity, you steer straight into poverty. But the reverse is also true. If you call money by its right name, if you say, "Money is divine, money is obedient, money serves me under grace in perfect ways," then the subconscious accepts that record and life must play it back as supply, abundance, and ease. Perhaps you say, But how can words carry such power over something as real as money? I answer you with a question. How can a dog, flesh and blood, respond to the sound of its name? How can a man stop in his tracks when his name is called across a crowded street? It is vibration. It is recognition. The name is a signal and the ear is tuned to hear it. Money too is substance with vibration, and it recognizes its name. If you call it poverty, it will shrink away. If you call it abundance, it will draw near. That is why I tell you never again say, I can't afford it. Say instead, it comes to me under grace. Do not say, money is hard. Say, money is obedient. Do not say, it never stays. Say, it multiplies and increases as it serves me. So tonight, write this truth upon your heart. Everything responds to its name. If you have been careless in naming money, repent of it now. Cancel every false decree, every idle word, every careless joke, and replace them with truth. Call money by its right name. Speak to it as a friend, as a servant, as a faithful companion, and it will answer. For the law cannot fail. What you name, you claim. And when you claim money rightly, it cannot hide from you any longer. What I am about to tell you may strike you as sobering. But it is the very reason why so many souls live in lack, while repeating affirmations half-heartedly, wondering why their prayers seem unanswered. It is not that the law fails, but that their tongue has been working against them all along. You see, careless naming blocks supply. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you have called money by the name of impossibility, and the subconscious has recorded it. Every time you sigh, money slips right through my fingers, you have called it fleeting, and the law has echoed your decree. Every time you groan, there's never enough. You have baptized money with the name of scarcity, and the harvest of scarcity has come faithfully. The subconscious mind is an obedient servant. It does not know a jest from a decree. It does not know exaggeration from prophecy. It only hears, it only records, it only plays back. And so the words you toss about lightly, the phrases you speak in moments of irritation, the jokes you make to amuse others, these careless names are the very chains that bind your supply. I once knew a woman who, though she was comfortably provided for, loved to jest that she would end her days in the poorhouse. Her friends laughed. She laughed. But the law did not laugh. It engraved the record, and in time her fortune was lost. Her comforts vanished, and she found herself living exactly in the conditions she had prophesied for herself in jest. She had named money poverty. She had named money loss, and money obediently answered to those names. Another student of mine continually spoke of how everything is so expensive. Nothing is within my reach. She did not realize she was pushing supply further and further from herself. When I instructed her to cancel that false naming and to speak instead, what I need appears, and I can afford it under grace, the tide turned. Soon she found herself supplied in unexpected ways, receiving gifts and opportunities she had never imagined, simply because she had renamed money. Do you see now why I say careless naming blocks supply? The law does not discriminate between deliberate affirmations and idle chatter. Both are seeds, and both must bear fruit. If you speak truth for 5 minutes in the morning, and falsehood for the other 23 hours of the day, which seed will outnumber the other? Which harvest will fill your fields? That is why the scriptures warn that every idle word must be accounted for. There are no harmless words. Every name you give money either calls it into your hand or drives it away. Perhaps you ask, but how can I change when I have been careless for so long? Have I not already written countless false records in my subconscious? Yes, you have. But do not fear. For the same tongue that wrote the false record is the tongue that can erase it. Declare with me, I now smash and demolish every untrue record of poverty, lack, and debt in my subconscious mind. They return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. I now make new perfect records through the Christ within, records of wealth, abundance, and supply. Speak this with conviction, and you will feel the atmosphere shift, the old grooves beginning to break, the new record beginning to play. So I charge you tonight, guard your speech as you would guard treasure. Never again call money hard. Never again call it scarce. Never again name it with words of fear. For careless naming blocks supply, but careful naming multiplies it. Call money by its right name, and it will come gladly, swiftly, obediently until your cup overflows. Now, beloved, let me show you the glorious reversal, the divine antidote to all the careless naming that has shut doors and barred windows in your life. For if false words bind, then true words must free. If wrong names push supply away, then the right name draws it swiftly to your hand. The law is never partial. It works in both directions with equal force. The tongue that condemns is the tongue that justifies. The word that shuts is the word that opens. And this is why I tell you the right name opens the channel. Speak rightly of money, and the way is cleared. The pipes are unblocked. The floodgates swing wide. Speak wrongly, and you stand in your own way. The key is not toil, not bargaining, not chance. It is naming. I recall a woman who came to me burdened by debt and wearied by struggle. She confessed that her daily speech was filled with phrases like, "I'm always behind. There's never enough. Money runs from me." I told her, "You are naming money as your enemy, and money, obedient servant that it is, must answer to the name you give it. Reverse your naming and you will reverse your condition." She resisted at first, for she had made a habit of her lamentations. But when she finally began to declare, "Money is divine. Money comes to me under grace in perfect ways. Money serves me and multiplies as it blesses," a great change took place. Within weeks, she received not only the funds to clear her debt, but also unexpected gifts that lifted her into freedom. The law had not changed, her naming had. So I ask you, what name will you now give to money? Will you keep calling it scarce, elusive, difficult, rebellious? Or will you call it divine, obedient, plentiful, ever present? The world scoffs at such things, for they think words are empty air. But I tell you, words are substance. Words are vibration. Words are seeds. Just as a farmer knows that wheat seed brings wheat, and thistle seed brings thistles, so must you know that words of lack bring lack, and words of plenty bring plenty. If you want wheat, you cannot plant weeds. If you want money, you cannot plant poverty. The right name is the seed of the right harvest. Perhaps you wonder, but what if I speak rightly and see no change at first? Do not be discouraged. Seeds do not sprout in a day, and records long engraved take time to erase. But every time you speak the right name, you are cutting a new groove in your subconscious. Every time you look upon your mirror and declare, "Money is obedient. Money comes to me now under grace," you are striking a new vibration. And vibration builds upon vibration, until at last the whole atmosphere hums with your decree. And then suddenly the visible changes to match the invisible. Do not quit before the harvest. Keep naming and the harvest must come. So here is your charge. Never again call money by a false name. Refuse to say, "I can't afford it." Refuse to declare, "It never comes." Refuse to murmur, "It slips away." Replace those names with truth. Money is here. Money is obedient. Money multiplies. Money is my servant and it comes to me by divine right. Write these words. Speak them. See them reflected back to you in your mirror, and watch the channels open. You will marvel at how swiftly supply flows, when it is no longer chained by your tongue, but loosed by your decree. The right name opens the channel. And once the channel is open, no man, no circumstance, no condition can shut it again. Here's something most people never realize, until it has already chained them hand and foot. Debt is not first written in ledgers or signed on paper. Debt is spoken into existence by the tongue. Every sigh of, "I can't afford it." Every lament of, "I owe and I'll never catch up." Every complaint of, "There's always more month than money." These idle words are the chisels that carve debt into the stone of your affairs. The subconscious, that faithful servant, takes down each phrase like a stenographer, recording without judgment, replaying without pause. And when enough of these records pile up, they form the conditions you now call your financial reality. The bill collector, the empty purse, the mounting balance. These are but the echoes of words long spoken and never revoked. I once counseled a man who lived in perpetual debt. He worked tirelessly, earned well, yet could never get ahead. When I listened to him speak, I understood why. His conversation was filled with phrases like, "I'm always behind. I owe everybody. I'll die in debt." His subconscious had been fed this diet for years, and his affairs mirrored it perfectly. I told him, "You are naming yourself debtor, and life is merely honoring the name you gave." He was startled, for he thought his speech harmless. But when he dared to change his words, when he began to declare daily, "God is my supply. I live in abundance. I pay all men and all men pay me. I am free from debt by divine right under grace in perfect ways," the tide turned. Opportunities arose to clear what was owed. Unexpected checks came. His income increased, and within a year he was free. His condition had been debt, but the root had been words. When the words changed, the condition had no choice but to follow. Do you see, beloved, why idle words are never idle? They are seeds, and seeds must sprout. The field of your life cannot remain bare. It will bear fruit after the kind of seed you sow. Sow lack, reap lack. Sow debt, reap debt. Sow abundance, reap abundance. The farmer who plants thorns cannot protest when his field pierces his feet. The man who sows idle words of poverty cannot complain when his affairs bleed him dry. The harvest is only the echo of the seed. Now perhaps you say, "But I was only joking, only exaggerating, only expressing my feelings." The subconscious does not laugh. It does not weigh sincerity. It does not check for irony. It only records. It only plays back. That is why the scriptures declare, "By thy words, thou shalt be justified, and by thy words, thou shalt be condemned." It is not the word you mean, but the word you speak that shapes your world. This is why debt so often multiplies, not because money is lacking, but because men multiply the wrong decrees with their lips. So I say to you now, cancel every word of debt you have spoken. Retract every careless phrase. Say aloud, "I erase every false record of debt in my subconscious mind. They return to the dust heap of nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. I now record the truth: I am free. I am supplied. I am prosperous. I am abundant." Repeat it until the new record is louder than the old. Look upon your mirror and declare, "Money is my servant, not my master. Money comes to me, not debt." Money multiplies, debt dissolves. And as you speak, the atmosphere will change, the harvest will shift, and the chains will break. For idle words create debt, but conscious words create freedom, and the choice is always yours. Beloved, let me now place into your hands the secret that makes the soil of your subconscious quicken with life. Here we come to one of the most marvelous secrets of the subconscious mind. And it is why I have told you to write the word on your mirror, and not merely in a notebook tucked away. The mirror is not an idle piece of glass. It is a portal to the hidden chambers of your soul. When you gaze into it, you do not simply see your face. You see the image of your own identity. And the subconscious, ever faithful, ever obedient, accepts whatever image you hold of yourself as truth. If you look into the mirror each morning and sigh, calling yourself tired, poor, unlucky, the subconscious writes it down and engraves it as your law. But if instead you look into that glass and see yourself, with the word of abundance shining before your eyes, the subconscious cannot resist it. It joins the word with the image, fuses the decree with the self, and says, "So this is who I am. This is the law. This is the record to be played." And soon the outer world must match the inner decree. The mirror works because it is repetition without effort. You may grow wary of affirmations if you try to repeat them for hours. But the mirror does the repeating for you. Each time you pass by, even if you do not pause, your eye catches the word. Your mind absorbs it. Your subconscious records it. Drop by drop, the groove is cut until it becomes a river. And when the river of thought flows strongly enough, it carries with it every circumstance of your life. That is why I tell you. Write the word where you must see it daily, where you cannot escape it, where your very reflection becomes one with it. For what you see joined to yourself, you will become. I once knew a woman who took this instruction to heart. She wrote a single word, WELH, in bold letters on her mirror. Each morning and evening she saw herself reflected beside it. She did not strain. She did not beg. She simply let the image sink into her heart. Within a week, an unexpected check of 50,000 came into her hands, a gift she had never imagined. The world called it chance, but I knew it was law. She had written wealth upon her mirror, and the subconscious had written wealth upon her life. Perhaps you wonder why the mirror carries more force than other methods. It is because the mirror unites word and image. To speak a word is powerful, but to see it joined with your own face magnifies it. The subconscious is most deeply impressed when the spoken word, the seen image, and the felt emotion are joined together. The mirror unites them. When you look and speak and rejoice in the word you see, you create a trinity of impression that the subconscious must obey. It cannot argue against an image so vivid, a sound so clear, a feeling so strong. So I tell you, beloved, treat your mirror as your altar. Approach it not with vanity but with reverence. Write the word boldly. Look upon it daily. Speak it with faith. Feel it with joy. And as surely as the dawn follows the night, you will see your affairs begin to reflect what your mirror has already declared. For the mirror is not glass only. It is the gateway of the soul. And what you write upon it, you write upon your life. Beloved, what I tell you now may be the greatest safeguard of your entire demonstration. For once you grasp it and practice it faithfully, you will never again sabotage your own prosperity. It is this: you must guard your tongue. For the tongue is both sword and scepter. It wounds when used carelessly, but it rules when wielded with mastery. The tongue is the rudder of life, as James declared. And though it is a little member, it turns the entire ship. If your ship has been steering toward the rocks of lack, if your voyage has been plagued with storms of debt and waves of fear, do not look first to the winds or the waters. Look to the rudder. What have you been saying day after day? What have you been declaring about money? For the tongue has set the course, and the tongue alone can alter it. Guarding the tongue does not mean silence only. It means discipline. Many think they must muzzle themselves completely. But I tell you, the tongue must not be chained, but trained. Train it to bless and not to curse. Train it to speak life and not death. Train it to call money by its right name, to prophesy abundance instead of lack, to declare obedience instead of rebellion. When you say, "I can't afford it," you have unleashed a curse upon your supply. When you say, "Money comes to me under grace in perfect ways," you have unleashed a blessing. Both are decrees. Both are orders to the subconscious. Both are seeds in the soil of spirit. Guarding the tongue means catching yourself in the very moment of false speech and turning it instantly to truth. Cancel the careless decree and replace it with the righteous one. I recall a student who had practiced affirmations but saw little result. She came to me discouraged, saying, "I repeat the words you have given me each morning, yet my purse is still light and my bills heavy." I asked her, "And what do you say the rest of the day?" She paused, then confessed that she often complained to friends. "I'm broke. I can't manage. Everything costs too much." I said, "There is your answer. You plant roses in the morning and weeds in the afternoon. Which do you expect to flourish?" She wept, for she saw her own sabotage clearly. From that day on, She guarded her tongue as a watchman guards the gate. Whenever she was tempted to speak lack, she stopped and declared instead, God is my instant, constant, and lavish supply. And soon the evidence appeared. The roses she planted with her tongue began to cover the weeds, and her life blossomed. Do you see, beloved, how simple the law is? You need not toil endlessly. You need not beg or plead. You need only guard your tongue. Every careless phrase is a leak in the vessel of your prosperity. Every guarded phrase is a plank in the ark of your abundance. If you wish to live free from want, build your ark word by word. Let your speech be your fortress. Keep watch at the door of your lips, and admit only the truth of abundance, only the decree of supply, only the names that call money rightly. So I charge you now, make a covenant with your tongue. Say, I will no longer speak of lack. I will no longer joke about poverty. I will no longer call money by false names. My tongue is consecrated to truth. It speaks life, not death. It speaks abundance, not lack. It speaks obedience, not rebellion. And as I guard my tongue, my life shall be guarded also. Practice this covenant, and you will find that your words become a hedge of protection, a river of supply, a fountain of joy. For the tongue is mighty, and when it is mastered, money must obey. Beloved, let me now place into your hands the secret that makes the soil of your subconscious quicken with life, the very rain that brings forth the sprout from the hidden seed. It is thanksgiving. Without it, your word remains as a seed lying dormant in dry earth. With it, your decree breaks forth into visible form, and the harvest comes with speed. Most souls pray with long faces, beg with heavy tones, or affirm with weary repetition, as though the heavens must be persuaded to yield. But true thanksgiving is not the sigh of one who waits. It is the song of one who knows. Gratitude is the proof of possession. When you rejoice before the evidence appears, you are declaring to the law, it is already mine, and the law, obedient and unfailing, answers, so be it. I once desired a rose tree. I did not storm the heavens with pleading. I did not count the cost or calculate the store. I simply pictured it, gave thanks for it, and felt the joy of already possessing it. The very next day, a friend sent flowers, and by what the world would call a mistake, the florist delivered a rose tree instead of the lilies she had ordered. Was it a mistake? No, beloved, it was law. Gratitude had fertilized the seed, and the harvest was swift. Another time a student of mine came to me, with only $2, desperate and afraid. I told her, bless this money, call it your magic purse. See it bulging, overflowing, jammed with bills. Give thanks for it as though it were already full. She obeyed. She rejoiced over that little purse, and soon after she received a gift of $6,000. Gratitude turned her 2,000 into thousands. Thanksgiving was the fertilizer that brought her demonstration into form. Why does thanksgiving hold such power? Because it signals the subconscious that the work is already done. Fear says, what if it never comes? Faith says, I know it is mine. And thanksgiving is the sound of faith. It is the vibration of possession. When you thank God in advance, you close the gap between desire and manifestation. You align yourself with the higher law, where all good already exists, and you draw it down into visible form. Thanksgiving is not an afterthought. It is the creative act itself. So I say to you, never let a day pass without rejoicing in the word on your mirror. Do not wait until the money arrives to give thanks. Thank God now. Smile at your mirror. Point to the word and say, I praise and thank thee that this is already true. My supply is here. My abundance is here. My prosperity is established under grace and in perfect ways. Feel the joy rise within you, as though you were already holding the evidence in your hand. And soon enough you will. For joy is the sound of the harvest ripening, and gratitude is the rain that brings it forth. Therefore, beloved, treat thanksgiving as the daily watering of your seed. Each word of praise moistens the soil. Each song of joy brings forth the sprout. Each smile of faith calls the sun upon your field. And when the season is fulfilled, you will gather sheaves not of struggle, but of grace, not of toil, but of abundance. For thanksgiving is the fertilizer of miracles, and the heart that rejoices will never know lack. Beloved, now that we have unmasked all the false names and restored the true ones, let us rise into the final act that seals your demonstration. For it is not enough to know the law. You must speak it. It is not enough to understand the word. You must declare it. Until you take the word into your mouth and make it your own decree, it remains outside of you, powerless to change your world. So let us do it together here and now. Stand before the mirror of your imagination and see yourself reflected beside the decree. Say with me, money, you are divine, you are obedient. You come to me now by divine right under grace in perfect ways. You serve me and you cannot enslave me. Speak it again. Not as one begging but as one commanding. Speak it not as one hoping but as one knowing. Speak it until every fiber of your being hums with the vibration. Until the subconscious records it in letters of fire, until the unseen bends itself to obey. For this is the final step, sealing the word. Without it, the seed remains loose in the wind. With it, the harvest is guaranteed. And here is my challenge to you. Do not let this teaching remain a pleasant thought, a curiosity tucked away for another day. Write the word on your mirror tonight. Do not delay. Do not discuss. Do not scatter it in chatter. Write it, guard it, bless it, and let it face you every morning and evening until it becomes your name. Look upon it and see yourself one with it. Call money by its right name. And watch as the channel opens. The walls fall. The debts dissolve. And the supply rushes in as though it had been waiting all along. For it has been waiting, not for God, not for men, not for chance, but for your decree. And when your demonstration comes, and it will, remember to testify not in idle boasting, but as proof that the law is true. Say, I called money by its name, and it answered. For this testimony will strengthen you for the next decree, and remind you that life is not a battle of struggle, but a game of words, and the player who speaks rightly always wins. Money answers to its name, and the name you give it tonight will shape the harvest of your tomorrow. Speak boldly, beloved. Speak truly. For the law is waiting for your word, and your word is the key that unlocks every door.